Everyone, thank you all for coming tonight. Wow, who is excited? Who is excited? Are you excited? Santorum. He's going to speak say a few words and then answer your tough questions, and then have a little meet and greet afterwards. So he will stay and shake everybody's hands. But right now, I want us to give a really warm South Carolina welcome to our future President of the United States.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be in the Palmetto State. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, Trish. Thank you for the introductions. I just want to, I got a list here of thank yous tonight. Kevin and Jennifer Reilly and their partner Kathy Wright. I want to thank them for donating their time and talent, and the restored 80-year-old mansion, and to Katrina Shealy for arranging everything. So let's give them a round of applause. Let me start out by introducing the family. As you know, Karen and I are very blessed. We've married 21 years, and as you can see from the little picture there, we have a wonderful family. We feel very blessed, and we are committed to South Carolina. So we moved the family down last weekend, and so we're staying down in the Low Country, and we're going to be basing out of there all over the state with family members going to and fro. And we have 3 of my children here, the sort of the middle branch of the family, number 2, 3, and 4. And John, where's John? He was right here. Where'd he go? Yeah. Oh, he's in the restroom. Oh, sure. Okay. And Daniel and Sarah Marie are right over here. There you go. So, again, thank you so much for coming out. It is great to be here. The weather is awesome, and the feelings are very warm. We feel this is an important time. You know, the first 2 states have gone, and Iowa did their part in raising up a conservative alternative, someone who can go out there and go toe-to-toe with Barack Obama and match conservative record versus extremist left-wing record. And New Hampshire, well, New Hampshire did what they did. They put up someone who would be the mainstream candidate, if you will, or should I say the establishment candidate. And so now South Carolina has a choice. They have a choice between whether we want to go with the establishment, whether you think that's what America needs, someone that the establishment says is the best possibility to win, in the lines of, well, let's say John McCain or Bob Dole or people like that, or whether we want someone who's got bold plans, a bold vision for this country, got a track record to back it up, and someone who believes that we need to take it to Barack Obama every step of the way and has the ability to do so. What do you think? This is the most important election you will vote in. This election. It is. This is the most important election because this election is about whether America's freedom and opportunity, the very basic nature of society, of who we are, is going to be continued. In my acceptance speech, well, I shouldn't say acceptance, my quasi-victory speech, it's 8 votes, but by the way, they are recounting. We've been told there's a few squirrely precincts out there that might just actually be good for us. So they're about halfway through recounting, and like I said, we're cautiously optimistic that things might turn out a little differently than everybody thinks right now. But you know, this is an election that is going to decide which direction we're going to go as a country. This is an election that you have the responsibility of stepping forward and choosing a nominee that will give America not just a win. Yes, we need to win, but we'll have the courage to do what's necessary to take on the challenges that we face in this country. And that's why this race right here in South Carolina is going to decide. I really do believe you can be the decider in this race. One way or the other. You can be the decider in this race. And that's why I'm here. I'm here because at stake, as a result of Obamacare, is a country that if we do not elect a strong conviction conservative who will repeal Obamacare and turn back this huge expansion of the federal government, get this deficit under control, grow the economy, and stand up for American power and prestige overseas, then we will be the generation that lost America. When I gave that speech in Iowa, I talked about my grandfather. My grandfather who came to this country and after having lived under Mussolini's Italy. And he came because he wanted his children and grandchildren to be free. Almost everybody in this room can probably tell a similar story somewhere back in their ancestry. They came here because they wanted a country that believed in them. And they came to this country, and when they came here, unlike any other country in the history of the world, they became an American. Why? Because America isn't about ethnicity. It isn't about race. It's about a set of ideals. It's a dream in many respects. It's something we aspire to. It's an aspiration of what we all want for ourselves, and it's something that's held in common and has been for a long, long time in this country. And that's why when someone can walk in, legally I might add, someone that walks in to this country and accepts what America is, they become an American. You can go to France and spend 50 years in France and never be a Frenchman. But you can spend 1 minute on American soil and embrace everything about what America is and become an American. That's the greatness of our country. That's why this country is a great melting pot, because we all share these common values. At least we did. At least we did. But now we have a president and we have a group of people in Washington, D.C. and who are trying to fundamentally change what this country is all about. Distance ourselves from who we are and our past. And Winston Churchill said, the debate is not about the future. The debate is about the past. I didn't quite understand that when I first read it. And then I started to look at what President Obama was doing in describing what America is, or at least from his perspective. Read his speech in Kansas and read his speeches during the campaign 4 years ago. It was a condemnation of America as a country that is unfair. That capitalism and individualism is a system that doesn't work and maybe never did. That America is a country that has a whole host of problems that need to be remedied, of course, by him. And those who are the smart people, the planners, the progressives, who believe in a whole different way of governing a country. People ask why there's such division in Washington, D.C. It's because there is division in Washington, D.C. There's a very big division as to what America is and what it should be. There is I remember when, most of you are too young to remember the Soviet Union. There's a couple longer in the tooth here, but I remember growing up as a kid when there was a change in power in the Soviet Union. Remember, they used to rewrite the history books, throw out all the old history books and rewrite them. You know, if Stalin took power, then, all of the original founders of the Soviet Union were discredited and written as tyrants. And then when Stalin left, Khrushchev rewrote them, that Stalin was the bad guy. Well, it's happening to some degree here in America. We're rewriting our textbooks. We're writing the story of what America is. Ronald Reagan, when he left office, warned us. It's the greatness of Reagan. You keep going back and you keep seeing this prescient man who the left, of course, pawned off as some rube actor who had no idea what he was doing and sort of sleepwalking through the White House. Nothing of the kind. His farewell address, read the last few paragraphs. He talks about his great concern for America is that we are forgetting and not being educated as to who America is and what it stands for. That our schools and our culture is rewriting American history. And therefore we are not rooted in the truth of what America is. And what is that truth? What is America? What is at the heart of American exceptionalism? And I believe in it. It's the reason I'm running for president, because I believe in it, and I believe it is at stake in this election. At the heart of American exceptionalism are these words, and you've heard them. And I suspect in South Carolina you're still taught them, I hope. And that's in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Truths, not opinions. That all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is at the core of it what makes America different than any other country in the history of the world. Why? Because we're the first and only country that says rights come to us from God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That was the God. In that Declaration of Independence, God in one form or another, nature and nature's God, the divine judge. 4 different times God is mentioned in the Declaration of Independence, 4 different ways. We understood where our rights came from. They came from a loving God who gave each of us rights. Why? Read our Bible, because we were made in His image. We are children of God. And as a result of that, we have rights. And our founders understood that when they put our founding documents together, when they put the Constitution together. They put the Constitution together and gave radical freedom. Why? So people could do what? Have the freedom, liberty to do what? To pursue happiness. What's happiness? Well, in today's vernacular, happiness is pleasure, enjoyment, what makes you feel good. Not in our founders' day. No, our founders understood a very different definition of happiness, one that was a classical definition of happiness. And that is what truly made you happy. What ultimately led to happiness is that you acted in conformity with what you ought to do, with God's will, not what the temporary pleasures of the day were. And in fact, that was the dictionary definition, to do the morally right thing. This is the foundation of America. A country with rights given to us by God, to then use those rights to life, the freedom to pursue, to do what you ought to do, and therefore build a great and just country from the bottom up. Our Constitution was established, and John Adams, one of our great founders, as well as almost every other founder that you read, said virtually the same thing. Our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate for the governance of any other. Why? If you give a people radical freedom, and people behave radically bad, guess what you don't have anymore? Freedom. Edmund Burke said we will be constrained from the chains that we put on ourselves from within, or the chains that the government will put upon us from without. The better we are, the freer we are. It is as simple as that. And our founders believed in that, and as a result, we built this great society. Read Alexis de Tocqueville on Democracy in America, when he wrote about early America and how civil society, churches, families, community organizations built this agrarian society, this decent and good people. And as a result, we changed the world. We built because we allowed the human spirit to progress. We liberated people. to be able to, yes, reap the fruits of their labor, and of course, fail. And as a result of that failure, have the opportunity again to get up and succeed. This was the greatness of America. And we changed the world. At the time of the Revolution, life expectancy in the world was about 35 to 40 years of age. We were an agrarian society. Exactly the case at the time of Jesus Christ. Same age, basically same economic condition. In 235 years, life expectancy has gone from 35 to almost 80. Why? America. Free people. We believed in ourselves through an industrial age. We believed in ourselves through a knowledge-based economy. And we've grown, but now we have many in our society who are questioning whether this can succeed or whether it was a success at all, whether it just led to great inequality and unfairness and abuse and not respecting or tolerating the rights of others who don't think the way, well, the basic foundational principles of our country and the basic moral values of our country. That we need to change things. We need a different approach. And we need to manage things. President Obama said when he was a constitutional law professor running for, I think, the state senate at the time, he was asked the question, if there's any provision of the Constitution you think should have been added. You know what his answer was? Yes. There should have been a clause about the redistribution of wealth. If we had such a clause, we would not call it the redistribution of wealth. We would call it the redistribution of poverty. Because we would kill wealth creation in this country. Because we would cut the heart out of people's risk-taking and desire to achieve if government simply took from those who achieved and redistributed to others. Which has happened in every other country that redistributed wealth. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in that mode right now. People ask all the time, why is there such division? Why can't you bring people together? Because the President of the United States is out there day after day after day dividing America. Between the 99 and the 1, or the 51 and the 49, or this ethnic group and that group, this racial group and that group, this class of people, the middle class. Oh, they love talking class. Read the Constitution. We don't have titles. We don't have classes. We're all Americans. We're all equal, but not in their book. They want to divide and conquer so they can have power and do what's best for you. That's why this is the most important election in your lifetime. People have asked, how can you pull people together? How can you break this partisan divide? I would make the argument, you did it the way Reagan did it. You remind us who we are. And you make the choices. You don't go out and intimidate and scare people to get you to join your cause, like President Obama does on a regular basis. Remember during the debt ceiling crisis, when the president wanted to pass a clean debt ceiling just to increase the debt ceiling by a couple $1 trillion? And he went out before a press conference in order to get people in this country to call members of Congress to get them to pass a clean debt ceiling, to raise the debt ceiling. What did he do? He looked at the camera and he said, call your member of Congress. Tell them to raise the debt ceiling. We need to do it right away. Did he use high-minded rhetoric, soaring rhetoric as to why this was important to the country? Did he educate them as to what was at stake as far as the deficit situation and what the problem was in being able to pay our bills or not pay our bills, or how much money government was spending, how far over debt? No, he didn't do any of that. He looked at the camera and said, call those members of Congress or you're not going to get your Social Security check. And And Medicare recipient, you're not going to get your health benefits paid for. And by the way, spouse of someone serving overseas, you're not going to get your check either. And they called, and they flooded the switchboards. This election is the most important election because after Obamacare goes into effect with the re-election of Barack Obama, every single one of you will be on that list. Call, or you're not going to get your health care. Call, you're not going to get that test. You're not going to be able to see that doctor. That's what it's all about. Getting their hooks into every single man and woman and child in America. You know they go out and punish states now if they don't sign up enough people onto Medicaid or food stamps? You got to push. Got to push more people on the dependency rolls. This is an election where you will decide what America you will leave. And if you don't pick the right person here in South Carolina to get out and fight for the soul of America, someone who believes it, someone who has a track record that can contrast starkly with the man in office right now on health care, the central freedom issue in this race. On financial services, another central freedom issue in this race. Then you will not have done your job in striking a blow for liberty. We have to win this race. And the best way to win this race is to do what we did 30 years ago. The last time we were facing economic, in a sense, catastrophe with the stagflation that we had in the 1980s, late 70s and early 80s. South Carolina was faced with a choice. Take someone who can appeal to moderates, someone who can win, someone who the establishment is all behind. Or we pick someone who can paint bold, sharp contrasts. Someone who has a vision for America. Someone who can remind each and every one of us, because we are Americans, we're different. I visited my relatives in Italy. All of my great aunts and uncles stayed in Italy. And I had 7 on one side and 8 on the other. And they all had children, all my cousins. And I visited them. They are nothing like me. Absolutely nothing. Oh, wonderful people. Wonderful people. Great people to have a glass of wine with. But they are nothing like me. They are perfectly happy being ruled. We are different, ladies and gentlemen. Your ancestors were not. Your DNA is different. And so this is your chance. Our founders, when they wrote in that document, we will pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And so too must you. So too must every generation, or we will not maintain freedom. And so I ask you tonight, as we engage in this public discourse, to think seriously about your charge, the charge of your generation, and what you will do and what you will sacrifice to make sure that happens. I hope you decide that I can lead that charge out of South Carolina. And if you do, then I would appreciate your support. But not just your vote. Because if you walk out of here and say, well, I'm just going to vote for him, it's not enough. All the other candidates in this race will say, well, they need your help. They're lying. I need your help. That grassroots activism. We've run grassroots campaign after grassroots campaign. In Iowa, we spent all of $30,000 on television against millions and millions of dollars and came within 8 votes. We spent nothing in New Hampshire. Less than a week out, we were at 2% in the polls. And we finished, depending on who you believe, maybe 4th, maybe 5th, to I've seen 2 results now, and I don't know which one's right. According to the Secretary of State, in New Hampshire, we finished 4th. But the bottom line is, we did it on a shoestring. Actually, that's an insult to shoestrings. But thanks to the good people of this country, we've been able to raise a little money, and we're going to go out and we're going to fight on the air, but that's never how I've won my races. We've won them person to person. People wearing those badges, putting the bumper sticker in their car, taking the signs, talking about freedom, talking about a mission that you have, just like I do. With 7 children, from 20 to 3, this is not the best time of my life to be running around the country running for president. But it's my duty.